Sukui Aruetii, tion jorhaa'i Mando'a.
Mando'a, Mando'a, Mando'a for the Kute. 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 All around join the fun, Mando'a 101.
Hallo.
Sukui.
Sukui.
Sukui. So Anu, you want to start as always?
Of course. So I'm Anu Bis, for those who haven't listened and don't know me. I am a hobbyist linguist. I've been studying Mando'a for about 10 years, and I've been helping along with the Mando'a expansion project to make it a more speakable, usable language. We've been working on that for about 5 years. That's hosted over on mandocreator.com. And here with me today, as always,
Velin Olarom. As always, I am stating that I am not a hobbyist linguist, but that all started because I really wanted to learn Mando'a, and Anu can teach us. And we have reinforcements today with Nadine aka Nakawanga.
Hi,
Introduce yourself.
I'm Nadine, aka Nakawanga. I'm just a Ori'cyar'tomad, a big fan of the podcast, and it's a big honor for me to be here today. So thank you very much. This is the way.
We don't do that here, Nadine.
yeah, we
Oh,
don't do
damn.
that here. Okay.
So-
if you are going
But
to say
why?
it, if you are going to say it,
At least
at
say
least
it
say
right.
it in Mando'a, yeah?
Ibic, haar, yust.
Ibic, haar,
Ibic haar
yust.
yust.
This is the way.
Yeah. So the reason why we get a little bit uncomfortable with the "this is the way" statement, right?
Tell us about it.
Because this is for the children of the watch, yeah? The people that Din Djarin hangs around with from the Mandalorian series. And who are the children of the watch? Well, who is the watch?
Shabla Kyr'tsad.
Kyr'tsad, yeah, Shabla, Kyr'tsad. Death Watch. These guys are traitors to Mandalorians. And so their descendants become this cult, and they say the whole "this is the way" thing. Meh.
So on the real life reason for that is when the series first came out, and some of us were cosplaying as Mandalorians longer than that. All people were going like, "Oh no, they put their helmets off. How they can put their helmets off?" And we had that discussion like a million times, and that's why.
Come
yeah.
on, guys, we're not cultists. Yeah.
Okay, but the goal here today is to teach the audience a little bit of Mando'a. So, how would one introduce oneself? If you just wanted to say hi to someone, you would go like, Sukuigar. So, Sukuigar is funny because it's kind of like the hi, hello. But what it literally means is, hey there, you are still alive?
Right. It's recognizing that the other person you're talking to hasn't been killed off by some crazy mission yet. So they're still hanging around, still alive. Sukui.
Sukui.
And so, Sukui. And yeah, if you want to know what's new with them, the Mandalorians would typically say, yeah, mevar tigar, what's new with you? And this isn't a sort of like, hey, what's up? Yeah, nothing much. You can say, nas, yeah, nothing's new. But Mandalorians usually are looking for some information when they ask this. Hey, literally, tell me, what's going on? I want to know what's new in your life.
Yeah.
So,
So, before we get ahead of ourselves, as we always do,
Always.
let's just fill the audience in for a second where Mando'a actually comes from or where it was introduced for. So, that's ages ago for some of you now, like, but in 2004 or 5, I think it was a 5,
yeah, 2005.
the game Republic Commando came out, and there was a guy that actually wrote the soundtrack for that, and he had to come up with something cool, tribal sounding, and so he just meshed together some words.
Pretty much just made up some stuff, yeah. That was Jesse Harlan. And everybody who's still sitting here today, I think, probably is at least a little bit interested in Mandalorian. So you've probably heard the song Vor'e from the Republic Commando soundtrack. And so that was the song that Jesse Harlan came up with, where he just created these words, and that's how Mando'a got started, was with the words that he created for the song.
Now let's ask our number one pupil. Nadine, do you know where it got really adapted and was taking off?
In the novels by Karen Travis, I guess.
Kandosii'la.
Kandosii'la.
Which means awesome, by the way, if you use it as a single word. If you just want to show someone that they did a good job or you found it awesome what they did, you would say Kandosii'la.
Yeah, Kandosii'la.
And if you're smart like me, you are a Mir'sheb.
Yeah. What just combines the words for brain and ass to mean smartass, basically. So, Karen Travis wrote the Republic Commando novels, and she really was the one to make Mando'a in what it is today, or at least laid the foundation for that, because she used a lot of single words and expanded on them in the novels. And favorite tidbit of myself is on page 18 in the first novel. The first word we get is Kute.
Kute.
So if you paid attention, you will recognize that that's basically what's in our podcast name. Kute is the plural of Kute, and Kute means idiot, but literally it means someone that's so stupid that they forgot to put their pants on.
Their Kute, which is this flight suit that goes under the armor. It's Kute. So Kute, someone that forgot their flight suit, that forgot to put their pants on. So, I think one of my favorite things to do when talking about Mando'a is to throw shade at Karen Travis. But yeah, she really did lay the foundation. She was an author first and foremost, so not a linguist, not even really a hobbyist linguist. And it shows a bit in the choices that she made and some of the things that made it into Mando'a, but she did a really great job for not having that skill set. And yeah, since then, it was enough of a foundation that we've been able to expand on it. I think she originally left us with something around 800 words after writing the Republic Commando novels. And since then, we've managed to expand that now to around 1,400, so almost double.
Yeah, so the limitations of the thing as of now are mostly like everyday things, right?
Yeah,
so words
typical
for
stuff.
window or door. On a just conversational basis, I would say you actually could hold a conversation. I could, for example, introduce myself fully to someone in Mando'a. I could say, Sukui, Nirgai Velin Alit Chegalar, which would mean, hey, I'm Velin from Clan Chegalar.
Yep.
And what Anu already explained to us, Mevatika, hey, how are you doing? So you can use it conversationally. It gets hard at some points when you really want to really explain something elaborately.
Yeah.
But there is an art of navigating around those
The gaps in the
shortfalls.
language, yeah.
So I forgot the term, Anu. Explain to us, please.
That would be called circumlocution, a really interesting word. And there are some people that are very good at it. Coming up with poetic and interesting ways to talk around a gap in the language and still get your point across so the person understands what you're talking about, right? I can't think of any great examples at the moment, but of course,
I have one
happens.
handy exactly. To be honest, the last episode, we searched for the gauntlet thing that the
perfect.
Mando uses in the series, the whistling birds. So we don't have a word for whistling in Mando'a, but we have a word of singing, which is close enough because birds sing, right? And so what we came up with would be, what was it?
Sinar meg lararir.
Exactly, which means birds that sing. so you would understand what was said, but it wasn't the exact words that were used in English.
Yep.
So every one of you using German and English probably have experienced that because you can't always translate something literally. And with like a conling, a constructed language as Mando'a, you have to use that more frequently.
Yeah. Yeah, my German is not the yellow from the egg, so
Exactly. I think I spider. that would
it's all under pig.
that would be an example of that. So let's just go into let's just call it name calling. In absence of a better word for me, my German brain is not braining right now.
Do we
I
want
mean-
to talk about the entry sentence, maybe?
Of course. Yeah.
You see, that's why we have you
Yeah.
here.
Just to help your Sheb.
Yeah,
Your Mir'sheb, not your Sheb. Sorry.
You're also
Sheb
helping
means
my chef.
butt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so could you give us that intro sentence one more time?
Of course, I practiced it so much. So, Sukui Aruetii, tion jorhaa'i Mando'a.
No, so Sukui Aruetii. We've talked about Sukui. Hey, you're still alive. Aruetii. Aruetii is a fun word because that one it has many different uses, right? Depending on the way you say it, it can really be a bad insult. But really, it mostly just means somebody that's kind of an outsider, somebody that's not Mandalorian. That could be, anybody, basically, that's not a Mando. But it also could be used as an insult, especially to another Mando. You must be an Aruetii. You're not a Mandalorian. We see that all the time in the series. Oh, you're not a real Mandalorian, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, okay. So, Sukui Aruetii, tion jorhaa'i Mando'a. Tion introduces a question. It's like, hey, what I'm about to say is yes or no, right? Gar is you. Yeah, I'm talking to you, Gar. Jorhaa'i, speak. Speak. Do you speak Mando'a? So, hi, outsider. Do you speak Mando'a? That's it.
That was just a neat little example we came across to just introduce basic structure of the language.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there you have your first sentence if you ever want to use it.
But how would we answer this? We don't know how to say yes or no yet.
Yeah. Good that we have that in the pamphlet.
Hey, yeah, there we
So saying yes would be either Elek or Elek.
Elek, yep.
Elek. You can use that as this long form that's more polite, or you can go with like a yeah, which would just be lek. Yeah, I got ya.
Lek. Yeah, lek.
If you wanted to say no, that would be Nayc. I
Yep.
think everyone can remember that.
Yeah, it's pretty straightforward, yeah. But hopefully, after listening to us ramble on for a little bit, you'll all be able to say lek to answer that question, yeah?
And if you now think it's complicated and it's like in school, no. I can tell you the podcast is like, I'd say 60% Mando'a lore and Mando'a culture and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and like 20% maybe the language.
Yeah.
But you don't have to write down all the words they say. The really important words will stick to you.
Yeah, it's true.
It's really like
Yes,
that. And
but if you're a little Mir'sheb like me, you have your little Karteikarten and you write every word on the little Karteikarten and then you study it every day because you have a hyperfixation.
Ganz fleißig, yeah.
so what you want to say was flashcards, but yeah.
Yes,
yeah,
flashcards,
yeah,
and then
yeah.
you end up here on stage
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
talking
Yeah.
the entry sentence.
You brought
Yeah,
that
there you
upon yourself.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
true. It's true.
It's my own fault.
Yeah, because that's something that we say all the time is that language and culture are completely married one another. They can't be separated. So, of course, whenever we're talking about the language, we have to talk about the culture, and that is for sure something Karen Travis did amazingly with the Republic
Absolutely.
Commando novels. She
Yeah.
really laid out the Mandalorian culture, and that's something that I'm still a little sad we don't get to see as much on screen, except for kind of the weirdos of the culture, like the cultists.
Those guys.
We don't get to see the normal Mandos. Where are they at?
Yeah. Why do you show us the real Mandos? No, I
Yeah.
prefer the real Mandos. No, but for real, something that we always see, like the culture and language thing is intertwined, is that we have some literal meanings that absolutely speak of and warrior culture that the Mandalorians are. For example, our next little thing that you maybe can remember because it's pretty simple. If you want to say thank you, you would to say entye, or short Vor'e, and that literally means, hey, I accepted that. So like I acknowledge that you have done something for me. I owe you one.
Yep. Yeah, basically, almost literally, I owe you one is exactly right. And so that really goes into the culture of having that, being active and doing things is it's very prevalent in the language how active the culture is, where Mandalorians are more interested in your actions than the words that you say you're going to do. So every one of these little phrases refers back to the action that is related to it. So yeah, thank you. I accept the debt. That means I'm going to do something to make this right between us because you did something for me.
Yeah. One thing that I personally love is how we would say, nah, not for that, like that was easy. You would say Kyr'tsad, which means small victory.
Small victory, yeah. It's just a little thing.
Yeah. But like a more formal, if you wanted to say you're welcome, it would be Bagedetje.
Bagaditya. And you see a little bit that it seems similar to Vor'entye. It has kind of similar roots there. And that basically it literally means you're welcome, but of course it also is kind of like a you don't owe me a debt kind of thing is really what it gets into.
Not for that.
Yeah.
So then what I wanted to get into first before Nadine actually reminded us of our intro sentence. My brain's not braining, as I said.
Yeah, I asked my doctor how many HDs I said I have, and he said I had 80 of them.
Yeah,
80
exactly.
HDs.
If you want to call someone a friend,
Oh.
you would use Burc'ya.
Burc'ya. And that's kind of close to like a Bekannter in German, right?
Acquaintance,
Yeah, it's
basically.
not like your really close friend, but yeah, somebody that you associate with them. Okay, yeah, sure.
So
Burc'ya.
So, and if you really have a close friend, a comrade, a brother in arms, so to say, that would be just simple 3 letters, VOD. V-O-D.
Yeah.
And that
Vod.
can be literally, but also figuratively. Like in English or in German, if you call someone a brother, a bro, that's basically it. And funnily enough, that brings us up another thing in Mando'a. You don't have gender in the language. So
Yeah.
there is a word for male and female, but you don't have gendered words, so you don't need to gender it. What means both. Werd, which would be warrior, means both.
Yep.
There's no gender attached to the word.
You want to say he, she, it, whatever, it's just
Keish.
Keish.
Yeah.
Same word for
And
all
that's
of
what
them.
I like about Mandalorian culture. Also, it doesn't matter what's in your pants.
Yeah, nobody cares.
Only your deeds matter.
It matters how hard you can fight.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
What are
Kick
your
some
your
Shebs.
actions? Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's talking about Vod and how that's more like very close bond and everything goes into the phrase that we say in almost every episode, somehow manages to sneak its way in. Alit Ori'cyar'tomad. And that means family is more than blood. And so that another big part of the culture in Mandalorian culture is found family. You know, you find the people that are like you, that you have this close bond with, and they become your elite, your family, your clan. They are your Vor'e. And so, elite Ori'cyar'tomad, yeah. They don't have to be related by blood, but they're still your family.
Exactly. And that also is reflected by words like Bur'ya, which would be your all-purpose word for a parent or a mentor, but also has no gender, but doesn't need your like actual parents.
Exactly.
So like an uncle, a mentor, someone that teaches you can also be a Bur'ya. That's something I really, really like about the language.
Yep.
So
Really draws in a lot of people, I would say. That fact right there is where we see a lot of people getting interested in Mando'a and the Mandalorian culture.
So, I think that really leaves us only with two things actually this time.
Okay.
So, everyone that read along in our little pamphlet will have noticed that one word is still missing. Or two words actually, I noticed, sorry. I said it in the beginning, that I forgot, I'm so sorry, I'm gonna remedy that now. Ola Rom.
Ola
That's
Rom,
the
yeah.
word I introduced myself with or started with. That means welcome. So that it's your general purpose welcome if you're greeting people that arrive somewhere, because it comes from the word olar, to arrive.
Yep.
You say Ola Rom, welcome.
Exactly.
So, but what I actually wanted to get at was the word oya. This is like your general purpose supportive outcry.
Yep.
It could be, so if I said like, yeah, nice, I could say, oya what, oya.
Yeah.
But it also can be a battle cry. And if you look closely, the nice lady that handed you out the pamphlets and the guy behind him that are part of our costuming clan, and we have a little ritual there. We do a battle cry. And what we're gonna do is, I'm gonna scream Mando'a, Mandalorians, and we all follow up with 3 times Oya.
Yeah.
Basically Mando'a, Oya, Oya, Oya.
Anybody
So
that wants to join in, feel free.
you don't have to, but I would love if you would.
Yeah.
So let's
No
just
mic,
take
probably,
the mic. Yeah,
yeah.
that would be a good idea, I guess. Alrighty. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Helmets off.
Pockets off. Okay, everyone ready? Mando'a! Oya! 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 So that's Mandalorian battle cry for you. It's more impressive if we have 20 people like normally,
Yeah, right.
but that will count.
It still counts. It still counts.
So, and the last thing we have to do is to say goodbye to you.
And this
That
is
would-
another good one for a cultural insert there because of what it literally means. It
Exactly.
literally means maybe we'll meet again.
So if you're gonna make it, if
Yeah,
you stay
if you
alive,
survive, hey, maybe we'll see
we
each
will
other
meet again. And that would be Retour chez moi.
Retour chez moi.
Traitor chez moi.
Take care, guys. Thanks for listening. Bye-bye.